Welcome back to America's Commercial Real Estate Show. I'm Michael Bull. The segment is brought to you by buyproxy.com. Check it out. It's a free commercial listing service. And today we are talking about co-working. We're talking about shared spaces. And I think when most people think of co-working, they think of the WeWorks. They think of these companies that are tenants of landlords, and these companies are focused and specialized in doing this themselves. But a lot of landlords around the country have considered setting up shared space, co-working space themselves in their buildings. And there might be some pros, there might be some cons. Well, I have a guest here, Michael Godin. And Michael is VP with WePartner, and they're actually doing it in some buildings. Michael, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me here, Michael.
Well, Michael, I think it's real interesting that rather than going the route of leasing to companies that do this, that you guys have been doing it. So tell us, to get us started, you're doing it in what, 3 different buildings right now? And what size are the spaces and what percentage of the actual buildings are there?
Absolutely. So we inherited some vacancies when we bought a few buildings in Atlanta where we were needed to wait for a long time until a larger tenant would come and show up and take the 5,000 square feet. And that space already had a conference room, a break room, a little lobby. So we thought, why don't we try it ourselves and see if there is a demand for that after carpeting and painting with a little TI, and just kind of see if there is a demand for that. And we realized that 800 square foot, 1 to 3 people offices for kind of a startup accountants or startup lawyers was the perfect size, and they were going for $500 to $800 a month, and with a little bit more management needs, but very minimal. It's just the first lease up where you sign them up for 6 months to sometimes 2 years. We were able to fill up our first self-made executive office suite.
Great. So you did a minimum 6-month lease with these tenants?
Exactly. We thought maybe we would need to go lower, but a lot of those people have actually a commitment. They are going for, they just split off from a company, or they have a strategy, they have a plan, and they are willing to commit sometimes for 6, sometimes for 12, and we have a few people for 2 years in their suites.
And are you doing any shared services? Do you have any personnel involved?
No, we have our property manager who is doing taking a little bit of the leasing responsibility on site, and that property manager is then touring the suites and showing them the kitchen, the break room, the conference room, explaining the access cards, how that all works. But it's actually not very management intense, because once the people are in, they behave.
Right, and then they have to intermingle, if you will. They're sharing the space. You haven't had any conflicts there yet?
We haven't encountered any conflicts. It's like in any common office, you're sharing the kitchen, and you're sharing the fridge, and you're sharing the table and the dining room, so in the break room. So we just have our janitorial staff that cleans it as we would do with other properties.
And so these are small portions of your buildings. What percentage of these buildings are using for that? You say it's 5,000 square feet. So how big's the building?
Well, the building itself in that particular park is 20,000 square feet, but we just took one suite that had already a good demise and structure with those common area amenities, and individual suites that we liked in this 800 square feet range. So we took that as stage 1, and now looking into expanding this and actually mirroring this on the vacancy that is next door to it.
And you think, has it helped your building? Have you got any benefits out of it? What do you?
Absolutely. I mean, if you're looking at the rates that we're able to receive to get there on a per square foot base, it's phenomenal. So that is something where it absolutely helps our bottom line, the NOI, and the management amount is very, very minimal. We actually are looking to roll out a non-dedicated suites, which you know from Industrious and WeWorks of this world, where you are paying a monthly membership fee and then have a non-dedicated desk where you have internet and power and access to all of this amenities like conference room and break room, and that will be kind of the next stage of that. That will be more management intense, because that's where you would need to have either somebody on site a little bit, maybe 4 hours a week, 4 hours a couple days a week, just to be able to monitor and take people in and create a little bit more of a community. And then eventually maybe somebody is by themselves and then they move into one of those dedicated suites that are on the lock and can grow into a 6 to 24 months lease.
Have you had any of these tenants grow into larger tenants and lease suites in your building?
That's the plan. Not yet.
Not yet. But that's what I think all building owners hope, that these smaller tenants become bigger tenants and they're
absolutely
there forever.
And I think, but I mean, you shouldn't be too ambitious on that either. I mean, there isn't, companies don't grow that exponentially. Somebody might be having 2 employees and then grows to 3 employees. They still maybe be able to combine 2 suites in that executive office space, but they're not necessarily going to take out a 5-year commitment on another suite on a different floor.
And have most of your tenants been independent entrepreneurs, or have some of them been more corporate companies who are just putting a space for one of their employees?
So we have not gone into this WeWork direction of actually going to corporates. So to us, it's all really independent, smaller accountants, lawyers, real estate agents who maybe want to have a space for themselves, which is outside of their bedroom, outside of their home. Right. And that's kind of been our strategy so far.
So what have you learned, good and bad, about it so far? And how long have you been doing it?
We have been doing this for about a year, so brand new to this. We have learned that mixed use amenities are tremendously important. So in our office park, Phoenix, by the airport in Atlanta, we are lacking that. We don't have anywhere you can walk to for lunch. And that is something which is really attractive to any tenant. Doesn't matter if it's executive or executive office or regular office. So what we are looking to do now is either to attract maybe a coffee shop, maybe a small coffee booth to the space, so that creates a little bit more of maybe a sandwich snack bar environment, and also maybe to dedicate maybe to attract, because we're creating more density in our units, in our offices, to attract maybe a small retail space into that area. So that's why we are right now looking to do our first office in an existent shopping center.
Now this is awesome. So now you've done it in your office buildings. Now you're doing it in a retail center. This is cool. Tell us about it.
Well, I think it's not a secret that the United States is over-retailed. So we have too much retail here.
Shh, don't tell anybody.
We are suffering from it as a landlord, as many others. So vacancies just sitting there. We have a vacancy in our Marietta shopping center, New London Square, and that's 10,000 square feet, and it's been a Dollar General, and that has low visibility, and we've just been waiting for somebody to show up and take that space. So in that center, we already have a few restaurants, we already have a grocery store, we have walkable amenities, but we don't have office. It's single story because it's retail, so we would be able to control the HVAC and be a little bit more efficient on the use of it. So we don't need to run it as a large building, and we can open the office for longer office hours. So for that particular space, we will be building it out as a 10,000 square foot executive office, which will have those 800 square foot, 1 to 3 people corner the offices that are dedicated, and a common area, which is where you pay like $100 membership fee and don't have it dedicated. Just go and take a desk that is open and available without a long-term commitment, or even any commitment. You can just do it on a 30 days basis. You can cancel it.
And and this is 10,000 square foot. It's in a shopping center. So is there any kind of coffee bar or snacks or personnel in this suite?
So we are looking for a little kind of anchor there up front, where we will carve out a space up front, and that will be the coffee with sandwiches, maybe juices, and that will be another hangout area for people who don't have an office, or who are non-dedicated in that space. And we think that's going to be very successful, because The U.S. has a lot of shopping centers, and especially in Atlanta, we're overbuilt on shopping centers. We have a lot of vacancy. But as millennials are seeking to walkable, accessible amenities nearby, such as grocery stores, such as movie theaters, such as bars and restaurants, that is a natural, I think, good spot for a executive office space, since you're already there.
Yeah.
Parking is usually plentiful and available, and you can actually walk to your sandwich place. You don't need to hop into your car and drive.
Yeah, it makes sense. I mean, when we're looking at leasing office space with tenants, or we're marketing office building, we don't concentrate on the four walls. You know, we concentrate, well, why do you want to be in this area, right? And what's around it that you can do when you walk out of the office. So I think that's a great idea. I mean, to try the co-working spaces in a retail center, because like you said, you can walk around to everything. You also, a lot of these small entrepreneur tenants too, may work evenings, they may work weekends and things like that. So if you have the ability to just run the heat and air in that space alone, and that makes a lot of sense as well.
The key is, and that's what we're looking for, is to find a local semi-manager of that space, especially if you have a little bit of volume, 5,000, 10,000 square feet, that it makes sense to have somebody, especially if you have a non-dedicated desks. You can have 100 members that are sharing space for only 30, because not everyone is always going to be there. They're going to be just coming in whenever they need to, and some people just work 3-4 days a week out of that space, and so you can make a lot more, you can rent a lot more subscriptions.
Can they get their mail there too?
Exactly, and that's another opportunity for them. They can they can register address for that space.
Yeah, well, that's great. So you've got 3 of these in office buildings now, and so you're going to expand it and do some more of this. And you said expanding in one of them.
We're going to definitely expand it in one of them, actually in 2 of them by the airport, and also we're building out now one at our Druid Point, Buford Highway location in Brookhaven. So that's the next one. And this will be the very first one this year. We'll be launching in a shopping center, in a strip center. I would call it a B-class strip center that will really be something unique.
Yeah, and we're going to follow you. We're going to get you back on and let everybody know how that went. Michael, thanks for joining us today.
Thank you very much for being here.
All right, and thank you for joining us. And stay with us. We'll have more on co-working after this short break. I'm Michael Bull. This is America's Commercial Real Estate Show.